On my 70th birthday, I discovered my husband had another family on the side. It turned out that the year the national college entrance exams were reinstated, he used our entire life savings to pull some strings and swapped my exam results with those of his distant cousin. After that, he was married to me for 50 years, while carrying on an affair with that same distant cousin for 48 of them. Faced with my tearful accusations, my husband looked utterly exasperated and told me to just accept my fate. If you were really destined for college, do you think I could have swapped our fates? We've made it through all these years. I never divorced you over your education, so what's there to fight about? Their son kept his head down, playing his game, his tone even more irritable and resentful. Old people and their endless drama. Can't you just settle down, Mom, with your attitude? What good would going to college even do? Instead of wasting time arguing with my dad, you might as well go peel me a couple of apples. Seeing the identical, icy expressions on both the father and son, I was so agitated that I had a heart attack. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in 1977. At that time, the national college entrance exams were set to resume in just 6 months. I was sitting alone at the empty table when my husband came back with our son. The two of them, who had been chatting and laughing, fell silent the moment they saw me. My son pursed his lips, sat down on the sofa, and started playing a game. Chinben, meanwhile, furrowed his brow. Didn't you say not to wait for us? My son and I already ate out. He stood there in his 70s, his back still ramrod straight. I'd become a grumpy old woman, but there he was in his white shirt and dress pants, his silver hair parted to the side and gleaming, still looking every bit the refined old gentleman. Do you know what day it is today? I murmured to myself, my voice as soft as a whisper. Today is my 70th birthday, and also our 50th wedding anniversary. Chinben remained unmoved by these words. In fact, his frown deepened. What's all this nonsense? At our age, why bother with such things? At your age, you still expect to indulge in cake like the young ones. You're just too greedy. Listening to his scornful accusation, I forced a stiff, thin smile. When you left the house, I was right behind you. The whole time. After 50 years of marriage, I learned for the first time that my husband, Chinben, had another love. My husband, who has always been so proud and aloof, was actually carefully serving food and peeling shrimp for someone. The tenderness in his expression was something I had never seen in all our decades of marriage, and my son, whom I raised with such toil and hardship, was even more blunt in his complaint. That ignorant old woman, my mom, does nothing but nag all day long. It's so annoying. Thank goodness I can still come hide out at Aunt Cheng's place. My dad named me Chin Man, full complete, out of regret that he couldn't have a complete life with you. If only you were my real mother. My husband, Chin Ben, looked at me with even deeper affection. In my heart, you have always been my wife. At those words, the strange woman shyly melted into his embrace. The two silver-haired people clung to each other with the affection of young lovers, a sight that was rather comical. On the other side of the private booth's door, the family of 3 inside was warm and intimate, yet I, as the mother and wife of these 2 men, stood frozen and silent outside the door, like a beggar peering in. If I were still young, I'd kick this door down right now and make such a scene that everyone would know. But I'm 70 years old this year. My aged body is like a piece of rotten, decaying wood, barely holding together organs that are ready to shut down at any moment. Even my blood vessels have shriveled, etched with weary wrinkles. Age is advancing, the mind is deteriorating, and it seems even my emotions have been diluted by the relentless flow of time. My heart was stabbing with pain, yet all I could think, dully, was that I should have brought my cane when I left the house. My old legs aren't what they used to be. After just a bit of walking and standing, I was already starting to sway. Perhaps I had been standing at the entrance for too long, because a server noticed me. Ma'am, who are you looking for? I looked down and caught my own hunched reflection in the polished hotel floor tiles. The old floral shirt my husband bought for 10 yuan hung loosely over a withered, aged frame. It was paired with a face weathered by time and etched with hardship, where even the few remaining tufts of white hair were sparse and unsightly. This was just an old woman, nothing like the ladies in the private rooms. She was about my age, yet carried herself with such sophisticated grace that the waiter respectfully addressed her as Ms. Chung. As if suddenly regaining my sense of shame, I trembled and fled in a panic under the waiter's questioning. It wasn't until I returned home and sat dazed in the living room for a long while. As I grow older, my health worsens, and I no longer have the energy to argue about marital fidelity. But after 50 years of marriage to Chinben, I deserve a straight answer. Yet upon hearing my words, my son started squawking in his raspy voice. Mom, have you no shame at your age? You're old enough to know better. and now you're following people around. It's downright embarrassing. People would laugh if they knew. An old lady who's gained years but not dignity, acting like some jealous spouse at her age. Chinbin looked at me, his expression surprisingly calm. You know everything. My lips trembled as I spoke. We've been married for 50 years, you. Before I could finish, I was cut off by our son's loud shout. What's so special about your 50 years? Aunt Ching and Dad have been together for 48 years. In 2 more years, that'll be their golden anniversary. 48 years. The meaning behind those words hit me so hard my face went pale. Looking at my smug son, a sharp, stabbing pain spread through my heart. Xiaoman, I'm your mother. The son curled his lip dismissively. You think I wanted to be born to you? Dad was a teacher, at least, and my stepmother was in the first batch of students admitted to Tsinghua or Peking University after the Gaokao was reinstated. She was a professor before she retired. Now that's a good match. What else can you do besides waiting on people? I'm ashamed to even be your son. How can you possibly compare to Aunt Ching? I couldn't believe it. A wave of grief welled up, threatening to spill over his tears. This is the son I raised with such painstaking care from infancy, the child I watched grow from babbling toddler to a full-grown man. I risked my life to bring him into this world and gave up so much for him. I even prayed before the Buddha, not for him to achieve greatness, but simply for a lifetime of health and peace. Standing there with Chinbin, it suddenly struck me how similar their postures were, father and son, an unfaithful husband, an ungrateful son. Is this what it means to share the same blood? Perhaps I was wrong from the very beginning. Chinbin made no move to stop his son's outrageous words. In fact, his expression hinted at tacit approval. Xiaoman's words may be blunt, but the truth in them isn't. I haven't treated you poorly all these years. Besides, Wanning is kind-natured and has never cared about titles or status. Why must you be so petty? I couldn't hear a word he said after that. My mind was completely filled with the name Wanning, Qing Wanning, that woman. It was actually Qing Wanning. My mind was instantly struck as if by a thunderclap. How could I not recognize that name? Back then, not long after Chinben and I got married, the county received support to build a high school, and he used his connections to get a teaching position there. Later, a distant cousin of his came to town for school and, for convenience, moved in next door to us. This cousin was named Qing Wanning. However, she was a lackadaisical student, consistently ranking at the very bottom of her class. Later, when the policy reinstating the national college entrance exam was announced, she took the exam and left the village, never to return. That year, I had been brimming with confidence, but in the end, my name wasn't on the list. Consumed by a heavy, bitter disappointment, I paid no attention to anyone else. It was Chinben who later told me that Qing Wanning had gone to the city to stay with relatives. Now it's clear, she wasn't just staying with relatives. She had actually been admitted to Tsinghua or Peking University. When you put all the pieces together, every single detail feels off. Memories from my youth came flooding back, rushing into my mind through the jolted nerves. I remember how Chinbin used to go next door all the time to tutor his cousin who was struggling with her grades. I remember the hushed, ambiguous rumors in the village about him and that cousin. I remember how evasive Chinbin was when I asked why I couldn't get my college entrance exam score report. I remember how often he was out just before the exams, and how the family's savings vanished without a trace. Now I know it all. Qing Wanning got into Tsinghua or Peking University on her first try, and she's been having an affair with Chinben for over 40 years. The whole truth is finally out in the open. My breath caught in my throat. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to still the frantic, disbelieving pounding of my heart. Murky tears welled in my eyes, tracing the lines on my face as they fell, a stark reminder of the years that had slipped away. My voice trembled as I demanded an answer. Chinben's reply was shamelessly frank. It was just swapping your college entrance exam score. How old are you now? Still crying? Stop being so melodramatic. Even though I had anticipated the answer, the cruel truth still made my breath catch in my throat. I thought of the life I was trapped in after failing the exam, confined to the bedroom and the kitchen stove. I thought of every night I cried in secret, and of the self I could never reconcile with after that shattered dream. A hot surge of blood rushed to my head, hatred and bitter fury burning my eyes red. I lunged forward and seized his arm with a fierce grip, my voice sharp with accusation. How dare you? What gives you the right? Chinben, you've ruined me. You've destroyed my entire life. If he could so callously swap our lives back then, why would he care about my tears now? He clicked his tongue in annoyance and shoved me away forcefully. If you were truly destined for university, could I have switched our fates? We've made it through all these years. I never divorced you over your lack of education, so what's all the fuss about? My son, bored out of his mind, started playing video games without even glancing my way. You're just getting old and troublesome. Can't you just settle down, Mom? Even if you get into college, what good will it do you the way you are? Instead of trying to weasel out of things with Dad, you'd be better off peeling me a couple of apples. Their identically cold expressions made my own furious face seem all the more ridiculous. To think my life would come to such a pitiful end. Overwhelmed by emotion, a sharp pain seized my chest, and I crumpled to the floor, convulsing uncontrollably. As darkness closed in, the last sounds I heard were my son's triumphant cheers from his game and Chinbin's icy scorn. What a disgrace, fainting at your age. A crushing weight of despair and anguish still seemed to press down on my heart. A sudden, deafening crash right by my ear jolted my eyes open instantly. Before me was an old, dark-colored desk, upon which a thick stack of books had just been slammed down. You sleep more than the pig in the yard, and you call this trying? The familiar sting of sarcasm sent a shiver down my spine. I whipped my head around, and there, standing before me, was a young Chinbin. My heart pounded like a drum as I frantically scanned my surroundings. The familiar gray brick walls, the faded red double happiness quilt, the worn wooden table, everything was exactly as I remembered. Looking at the calendar on the wall again, the most recent page was still turned to May 20th, 1977. At this moment, there was still a full 6 months until the first college entrance exam after its reinstatement. I could barely contain my overwhelming emotions, nearly brought to tears. Was this fate's mercy, allowing me to return to a time before my destiny was altered? It's a shame no one there could sense the turmoil in my heart. Chinbin, 26 at the time, kept hurling insults at me. If you're so fond of cutting corners and shirking work, why bother with school at all? Just drop out. A lazy good-for-nothing rotting at home is better than making a fool of yourself in public. I gave a quick, decisive nod. All right. Chinbin froze, thinking he must have misheard. What did you say? Seeing his stunned expression, I sneered inwardly. Once I realized what Chinbin was up to, all the clues from the past became glaringly obvious. He had a wide social circle and was always well informed about the education sector, so he had long since guessed that the college entrance exams would be reinstated. And as for Qingwanin, having lived next door for so long, she had probably long since graduated from cousin to sweetheart. It was clear he was dead set on changing my grades, yet he still nitpicked and mocked me every day, even threatening to expel me at the drop of a hat. In my past life, I was deeply affected by his words, living in a state of constant, overwhelming anxiety. On one hand, terrified by his threats, I buried myself in studying, never daring to take a break, and nearly worked myself to the point of collapse. On the other hand, he brainwashed me into feeling immense guilt, convincing me I was a burden to the family for using their money for school and for not having a child over a year into my marriage. It's perfectly clear that the money for my education was set aside by my parents before they passed away. You want to claim the moral high ground while expecting me to obediently let you use me. What a joke. You can't have it both ways. At that moment, looking at the repulsive face of the young Chinbin, I was cursing him out with every foul word in my mind, calling him a bastard. Yet, on the surface, I swallowed my disgust and put on an act of complete trust and dependence. You're right, dear. I've finally come to my senses. Just like Auntie at the village entrance says, a woman's most important duty is to support her husband and raise her children. Going to school is truly neglecting one's proper work. I won't study anymore. I'll go and withdraw from school tomorrow. From now on, I'll stay home, be dutiful, cook, and feed the chickens. I watched with great amusement as Chinbin's face gradually turned ashen, barely holding back my laughter. Are you kidding? If I really gave up and slacked off, what would happen to his precious little sister? Sure enough, when I went along with what he was saying, Chinbin wasn't pleased at all. Instead, he was horrified. What do you mean by that? You were the one who insisted on going to school, and now you just want to quit. Do you think education is some kind of game? With a look of pure innocence and a pout of feigned grievance, studying is so exhausting. I'm already married. Why should I have to put up with this? No matter how capable I am, nothing gives me more confidence than having a warm, dependable man at home. Having one successful person in the family is enough. The man handles the outside world, the woman manages the home. I'll be your supportive wife. Isn't that perfect? Chinbin's face looked as if he had swallowed a fly. He simply couldn't understand how someone who had once pushed themselves to the point of exhaustion studying could suddenly decide to drop out and dedicate themselves to being a supportive spouse. I watched in silence. He took a deep breath, then suddenly leaned in close to me and lowered his voice. Yuzhen, you have no idea. I've heard a rumor that they're very likely to lift the restrictions and reinstate the college entrance exams this year. I never expected him to be so unable to contain himself. I kept my composure. So what if they reinstate the exams? Let them do what they want. It doesn't affect our lives one bit. Chinbin was seething with rage, yet he had no choice but to continue patiently coaxing her. Yujin, your parents always wanted you to finish high school. Now that the college entrance exams might be reinstated, don't you want to get into university and make them proud from beyond, for a moment? His fury was almost impossible to contain. I dug my nails so hard into my palm that I drew blood, just to barely keep my composure. Chinbin, how dare he bring my parents into this? In my past life, my grades were swapped. I should have at least gotten a high school diploma, but he probably wanted to cover his tracks completely, to make sure I couldn't even get that diploma, leaving me with nothing but a junior high school education for the rest of my life, in our past life. When he heard everyone shaking their heads and sighing, saying I wasn't good enough for him, was he feeling guilty, or secretly pleased? If my parents knew from beyond the grave, they'd probably want to drag him down with them. I gritted my teeth inwardly, while maintaining an innocent expression. My parents always said that as long as I'm happy, nothing else matters. If they knew how exhausted I was from studying, that I'd even lost my appetite, they'd definitely feel sorry for me too. Chinbin hadn't expected me to be so stubbornly unyielding and was left speechless with anger. I then casually brought it up, as if by chance. Going to school costs money every single day, and it doesn't bring in any income. I might as well go help Auntie Lin weave baskets to earn a bit of cash. Maybe then I could even afford to buy some peach shortbread from the supply and marketing cooperative. Seeing a glimmer of hope, Chin Binru immediately chimed in, I'm your husband. If you want peach shortbread, I can just buy it for you. He then finished with an exaggerated sigh. I want you to study hard, partly to honor your late parents' wishes, and partly for your own good. Yujin, you should spend less time with those illiterate village women. What could they possibly know? Remember, women hold up half the sky, but one must still be educated. He's managed to have it both ways. I gave a casual nod and urged him to hurry up and buy it. Or the supply and marketing cooperative would close. Chinbin was left speechless. He had no choice but to put on his coat and head out. Chinbin taught at a high school. His salary came with grain, oil, and cloth ration coupons, but not pastry coupons. To buy walnut cookies, he had to trade other coupons with people. In my past life, I was more frugal than anyone, never daring to eat or drink much. In the end, all the savings I scrimped and saved for were used by him to bribe the examiner, which came back to slap me right in the face. Those TV dramas from later years got it right. If you don't spend your husband's money, he'll just spend it on another woman. Meanwhile, I wasn't just sitting around at home waiting. Chinbin's trip to the supply and marketing cooperative couldn't be kept a secret in the village. If he was buying expensive walnut cookies, he was bound to be thinking of his darling cousin. I slipped through the backyard and made my way stealthily to Qingwanin's place next door. Her house had fallen into disrepair over the years, with many parts of it being fragile and dilapidated. One window, in particular, never shut properly, but since the window was in the living room and the draft didn't reach the bedroom, Qingwanin had never bothered to fix it. Now, that worked to my advantage. Peering through the gap in the partially open window, I soon caught sight of Chinbin returning. Just as expected, he went to Qingwanin's place first. He was seen hurrying through the door, carrying 2 stacks of neatly wrapped walnut cookies. Qingwanin closed the door right behind him, then turned and linked her arm with his. Chinbin placed one of the stacks of cookies on her table, his face etched with irritation. That ignorant fool Su Yuzhen. I always knew she was dim-witted and lazy, but today she's completely lost her mind. She won't even go to school anymore. She claims studying is too tiring and insists on dropping out to play the dutiful housewife at home. Isn't she just looking for an easy life? And now she suddenly wants walnut cookies. Those require 3 meat ration coupons just for the pastry ticket. She must have been born a gluttonous pig. Qingwanin comfortingly took his arm and said softly, Cousin, don't be angry. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, Cousin wouldn't have had to put up with her nonsense. Hearing his sweetheart say this, Chinbin's heart ached for her. He quickly pulled her into an embrace. Wanin, don't say that. How could any of this be your fault? That Su Yuzhen has no sense of self-respect, self-love, or independence in her soul. Even after hearing the college entrance exams are being reinstated, all she can think about is staying home to be a housewife. How does someone like her deserve such good grades? Using her results to get you into university is practically us doing the work of heaven. Hiding by the window, I was almost driven to bitter laughter by their sheer shamelessness. Doing the work of heaven, is it? Let me, your esteemed auntie, teach you what it really means to carry out heaven's will. When Chinbin came home carrying the remaining box of walnut cookies, He was putting on his model husband act again. I ate every single one of those cookies right in front of him, chewing slowly and deliberately, not leaving him so much as a crumb. Chinben hesitated, words on the tip of his tongue, but in the end, he was too embarrassed to say anything. He thought I was just throwing a random tantrum today and that buying me the cookies would be enough to placate me. Little did he know. Today was just the beginning. In the days that followed, I gave Chinben a profound lesson in what it truly means to court disaster without paying the price. The first time he bought the walnut cookies, he still had the energy to fret over the ration coupons, but after the second and third times, he became completely numb to it. The moment I open my eyes each day, I'm ready to eat, and every meal must have meat. The lard we've stored at home is disappearing at a visible rate. If Chinben ever dared to mock me for being greedy or wasteful, I'd cover my forehead, shut my eyes tight, and say, "Darling, I told you I'm not cut out for studying. If I don't have some meat or pastries each day, my brain gets no nourishment. The moment I pick up a book, my vision blurs and I just want to fall asleep. Maybe we should just go and withdraw from school. I feel so guilty, always spending money like this." I was only pretending to faint, but Chinben was practically on the verge of passing out for real from anger. But with the lovely neighbor next door, he could only grit his teeth each time and, on the contrary, comfort me. "It's fine, I'm your husband. Isn't earning a salary meant to be spent on the family? How much could you possibly eat? I must have been neglecting you all this time." And with those words, he actually managed to hold his tongue and endure it. If he weren't my husband and she weren't his little tramp on the side, I might have marveled at the power of love. In my past life, I juggled school with cooking, cleaning, feeding the pigs and chickens at home. I even prepared the lunches Chinben took to school every single day. This time around, he wasn't so lucky. No one to tidy up the house. Fine, let it be a mess. No one to feed the chickens, ducks, and pigs. Let them go hungry. If they starve, all the better. No need to buy lard or offal for a bit of meat. We'll have a proper feast right at home. Studying already takes so much out of me. How could I possibly have time for all these trivial matters? Chinben had no choice but to juggle work and taking care of the household. In just a month, he lost a noticeable amount of weight. Furthermore, the expensive things I started demanding weren't limited to pastries anymore. I began asking for the hard-to-get items from the supply and marketing cooperative as well. I didn't sleep well last night, and it's affecting my ability to memorize. I need a new, fashionable embroidered pillowcase. My mouth feels bland tomorrow. I'm not in the mood for school. I need some malted milk drink. The day after tomorrow is a bit chilly, and my hands are dry without lotion. I can't even write properly. By the next day, I'm in a foul mood again, thinking of dropping out to go home and be a lady of leisure, unless I get some canned fruit and syrup. Unlike my last life where I put up with everything, this time I follow my every whim, glowing with health and feeling utterly content every single day. Ever since I was reborn, I haven't shared a bed with him again. It wasn't out of pity for his gauntness, but because I didn't want to welcome another Chin man into the world. I finally understood the sheer power of genetics. From now on, Chinben can have children with whomever he pleases. I refused to repeat the same mistake. On several occasions, I overheard Chinben's muttered curses. "You wretch. Give you an inch and you take a mile. Who do you think you are, using all that good stuff? Just wait until Wanin gets into university using your grades. I'll make sure you learn your lesson." I wasn't the least bit surprised by this, nor did I feel any anger. After that, every time I got something he bought, I'd make a show of it in the yard, deliberately raising my voice so the neighbors next door could hear. Predictably, Wanin started to feel resentful and began giving him a hard time. So, just like with the walnut cookies at the very beginning, the purchases went from one portion to two. Tormented by two women at once, Chinben soon became haggard. As the announcement of the reinstatement of the college entrance exams drew nearer, more people got wind of the news, and a palpable sense of restlessness spread through the crowd. I wasn't idle during this time either. I spent my days reviewing my textbooks while also reflecting on the events of my past life. Besides me, there were many other students at the village high school who had always excelled academically and were fully expected to get into university, but in my past life, none of them got what they wished for. Tao Chenmei, a classmate 3 years my junior, was second only to me in grades, a fiercely determined girl, yet when I returned to my hometown in that past life and saw her, I learned she had married as soon as her college entrance exam results came out, never leaving the village for the rest of her days. Then there was Gu Indi from another class, who had always studied relentlessly. Her family was unwilling to support her education, so her classroom teacher paid for it out of his own pocket. After the college entrance exams were reinstated, that teacher even offered to fund her university studies. But in my past life, I heard she scored less than 100 points on the exam, while her parents inexplicably came into a large sum of money. There were also her classmates, Zhao Ji, Lin Jun, the daughter of crippled Lin, and Su Wenqiu, the son of widow Wang from the head of the village. Without exception, they were all high-achieving students from poor families with no connections or backing. I suspected Qinbin at first, but to play it safe, he only stole the scores from someone close to him, specifically mine, for his cousin. Even that cost him his entire life savings. Qinbin simply didn't have the capability to organize an operation of that scale. Very few people in the village wielded that kind of influence, so I quickly narrowed down the suspects. But to stop him successfully, I needed solid proof, and I figured I'd teach Qinbin a lesson he wouldn't forget while I was at it. In the days that followed, I kept a close watch and finally picked the perfect moment. On that day, I sent Qinbin out on another errand, and this time, he came back much later than usual. I could tell from the look on his face that the plan had worked. In the days that followed, he began going out frequently. He even visited our neighbor Qin Wannin's house less often, clearly preoccupied with more pressing matters. I was more than happy to see it. The days passed one by one, and soon the long-awaited and highly anticipated day arrived, in August 1977. The Science and Education Work Symposium was officially convened. Everyone understood that the matter was practically a done deal. In October 1977, the central authorities formally approved the decision to reinstate the National College Entrance Examination, Gaokao, simultaneously issuing a notice that set the exam date for 1 month later. As soon as the news broke, everyone rushed to the courtyard where the village loudspeaker stood, even accidentally yanking out the wire connecting it. But the villagers swarmed in and then scattered just as quickly, with no one knowing who had pulled the wire loose. The village head had no choice but to grumble and find someone to fix it himself. Time passed at its own steady pace, and the day of the National College entrance exams drew ever closer. That noon, after finishing their lunch, the villagers gathered around the century-old banyan tree at the village entrance to relax and chat. A sudden, piercing stream of noise blared from the village loudspeakers, reaching every corner of the settlement. Leaning against the banyan tree, Wang Irma scratched his head. Didn't they just fix that thing the other day? What's that strange noise now? Someone nearby chimed in. This loudspeaker keeps cutting in and out. Old Lou, the village chief, just got some apprentice to fix it. Too cheap to hire a proper repairman from town. The village is so small that the slightest bit of news gets everyone gossiping. But before the villagers could really get going, grumbling about the stingy chief, the loudspeaker crackled back to life. Only this time, what came out was the clear sound of a conversation. We agreed to split it 50-50. Are you trying to keep it all for yourself? 50-50, my foot, how dare you even say that? I'm the one who found all these people to buy the grades. Did you lift a finger? And you call yourself an educated person? You're just shameless. You're being completely unreasonable. Under the banyan tree, everyone exchanged bewildered glances, utterly confused. But soon, the conversation that followed was a bombshell. I have no shame. And what do you call it when you, as the village chief, abuse your power for personal gain and tamper with college entrance exam scores? If I spill the beans, not only will you lose your position, I reckon you'll end up behind bars. The air seemed to freeze for a moment, followed by a wave of shocked murmurs, but the conversation on the broadcast wasn't over yet. Go on, say it, tell me, how much cleaner are you than I am? Hey, at least I'm selling to folks from the village, but you're selling out your own wife. That sweet girl, little Yuzhen from the Su family, she still doesn't know you're carrying on with your cousin, does she? The words blared from the loudspeaker, deafeningly loud. Instantly, countless pairs of eyes locked onto me, making me incredibly uncomfortable. The conversation from the loudspeaker continued. As the village chief, you only pick on the most vulnerable people. Aren't you afraid of karma? You're the one who brought Guindy's parents here, aren't you? Plotting with them to swap the exam results. And on top of that, you plan to sell the poor girl off. What karma for me? You're the one who's gotten away with everything. What did Yuzhen ever do to deserve being swindled by you? And you wanted to give your own wife's college entrance exam score to that tramp. Have you no conscience at all? They went back and forth, each trying to claim the moral high ground, yet both were covered in filth themselves. In the end, it was a case of dog eat dog, with all their dirty laundry being aired for everyone to see. Suddenly, a commotion broke out nearby. It turned out the village broadcast had mentioned Su Wenqiu. And his mother, Widow Wang, was right there under the banyan tree cracking sunflower seeds. All hell broke loose. The notoriously fiery Widow Wang immediately tried to storm into the village chief's house, itching to slap him silly. It took a concerted effort from the crowd to hold her back. Someone shouted, call the police, go to the station. A quick-witted fellow immediately took off, sprinting to the police station to report the incident. When Chinbin left the village chief's house, the two of them still hadn't settled their argument, but he wasn't worried. With just half a month left until the college entrance exams, he and the village chief would settle their score sooner or later. Lost in thought, Chinbin nonetheless walked at a brisk pace, but as he walked on, he sensed something was off. Why were all the villagers sitting outside, and why were they looking at him so strangely? Suddenly, the crowd parted, and Guindi walked through, her eyes red and swollen. "Mr. Chin, do you think I can get into university?" Chinbin looked down at her, a gentle smile spreading across his face. "Indi, your grades are excellent. It's very likely you'll get in." To his surprise, as soon as he finished speaking, Gu Indi's tears began to stream down her cheeks. "Mr. Chen, you lied." Chinbin felt the strange silence around him and a sudden unease in his heart. He could no longer keep up the pretense. Avoiding everyone's gaze, he hurried home. When he entered the room, I was, for the first time in a long while, tidying up, and it was his things I was sorting. It's not for any other reason. I'm just terrified he'll walk off with something valuable from the house. I'd be absolutely heartbroken. Seeing me pack his clothes in silence, Chinbin felt both confused and uneasy. "Yuzhen, what are you?" I smiled. "Chinbin, how many years do you think someone gets for organizing exam fraud?" As the words hung in the air, a visible panic washed over him. Before he could even muster a defense, the police knocked on my door. "Chinbin, you're coming with us." Beside them, the village chief stood handcuffed, his face etched with despair. After watching them walk away, the door next door finally opened. "I knew something was off the moment you insisted on following the electrician to watch him fix the wires. You wretched woman, he's your husband. For God's sake, why would you do this to him?" Since Jingwanin moved in, she's only ever interacted with Chinbin. This was the first time she'd spoken to me at such length. I studied her face, pale with tension, and saw a complex mix of emotions in her eyes as she looked at me. There was wariness, jealousy, and resentment. "Su Yuzhen, not everyone is as naturally gifted at studying as you are. My cousin is just using your Gaokao score to help me out. Once I'm in university, you can always retake the exam yourself. How could you be so heartless? Your cousin has always been so good to you. Su Yuzhen, you have no conscience." Seeing her bluster was just a cover for her fear. I had absolutely no desire to explain myself. Our worldviews and values are worlds apart. How could I ever hope to convince her? Besides, it's not like she needs my convincing in the first place. I simply smiled faintly. "Come to think of it, I'm not sure if your situation even qualifies as being an accomplice. If we really get sentenced together, you'd be thrilled, wouldn't you? You'd get to be with your darling cousin forever." Ignoring her furious stomping, I turned and went back inside. That night, I had the most peaceful and restful sleep since my rebirth. A week later, the incident was reported in the newspapers. In the very first year after the reinstatement of the National College Entrance Exam, individuals abused their power, accepted bribes, and attempted to orchestrate cheating and alter scores, causing a severe scandal. The government took this matter extremely seriously. Even top leaders made it clear that the National College Entrance Exam is a fundamental principle of the state, a line that must not be crossed. In the end, the village chief, Chinbin, and all the others involved in the bribery were sentenced to the maximum penalty, with most receiving prison terms of 10 to 15 years. The buyers of the college entrance exam scores were also uniformly sentenced to prison, though their terms were not as lengthy. Chinbin going to prison didn't really affect me. Ultimately, it's because we never actually got officially married. In the countryside, once a man and a woman hold a wedding banquet, they're considered husband and wife, even in my past life. After failing the college entrance exam and seeing no hope for university, I started trying for a child with Chinbin. We only got our marriage certificate after our son, Chinman, was born, in order to register his household registration. In this life, I'm immensely grateful for that old-fashioned tradition. It saved me a lot of trouble. Due to the major scandal involving a conspiracy to tamper with college entrance exam scores, as a precaution, the backup exam papers were used for the actual test. The exam questions in this life were completely different from my past life, yet I found them easier to navigate. As I stepped out of the examination hall, snow began to fall from the sky. This was the first snow of 1977. Glimmering, starlight white flakes descended upon the earth, as if gradually purifying all the world's impurities. I walked forward, as if treading upon a long carpet of white feathers bathed in holy light. Each step felt pure and radiant, as if heralding a promising future. Years later, I had secured my place in the textbooks. more than the prestigious title of a Tsinghua or Peking University professor earned through seniority. I was better known for my groundbreaking contributions to the industry, leveraging a future-oriented, strategic vision. I led the domestic industry to a position decades ahead of the rest of the world, once again. Good news from the experiment had the students beaming with joy. I took off my lab coat, looked at these earnest and endearing graduate students, and smiled faintly. All right, kids, let's go. To reward you all, I'm treating you to Haidaleo, woohoo. All right, long live Professor Su, woohoo. I want the pork stomach and chicken soup base. I led my chattering students, like a mother duck with her ducklings, in a boisterous procession towards the Haidaleo restaurant. While waiting at the traffic light, a destitute-looking couple stood not far from us. A gaunt, dark-skinned boy, who appeared to be their son, was throwing a tantrum on the ground, wailing for a toy car displayed in the shop window. The man deliberately shielded his face, paying no attention to the child thrashing about on the pavement. The woman tried to coax him at first, but eventually lost all patience. She grabbed a wooden stick nearby and started whacking the boy's backside. Have you no shame? No shame at all. Don't you know our situation? How dare you ask for a $15 toy? The boy wailed and sobbed. That's not true. It's not like that. You're not my mother. You should be a Tsinghua or Peking University professor. You should treat me extra well and even pull strings to get me a job. Stop hitting me, Auntie Ching. Please stop. Wah. Hearing the boy's words, the woman flew into an even greater rage and lunged at him, beating him wildly. Say that again. What did you just call me? Huh. A son doesn't blame his mother for being plain, and a dog doesn't blame its home for being poor. You're worse than a dog. What sin did I commit in a past life to marry a useless man and give birth to a son who's lower than swine? My wretched fate. The family drew many stares on the street, with even the students watching them curiously. Suddenly, the boy who had been beaten saw me. He scrambled to his feet on all fours and charged straight toward me. The students gasped and instinctively formed a protective circle around me, shielding me from view. The boy couldn't even get close enough to touch me, hopping up and down in frantic desperation as he shouted, Mom, Mom, it's me, it's Xiaoman, Mom, Mom, I was wrong, you're my real mom, get me out of here, Mom, this woman is crazy. One of my students snorted with laughter, Kid, you've got the wrong person. Our teacher isn't married and has no kids, she's the belle of Tsinghua and Peking University. Don't go claiming relatives willy-nilly. Hey, someone, his parents need to come get him. The woman quickly apologized and dragged the wailing boy away by the scruff of his neck. The man seemed momentarily stunned, staring in my direction and mumbling something under his breath. Not that I had any interest in deciphering it. The light turned green, and the crosswalk cleared into an open path. I was leading my students, the future hope of the nation, off to enjoy a delicious hot pot meal. As for other irrelevant people and matters, how could they possibly stand in my way? Story 2. After being reborn 10 years in the past following the car accident, Zhou Tingji and I broke up with a silent understanding. In my past life, he only got close to me for Liang Yu's sake, only to watch helplessly as the one he truly loved ended up with someone else, through all the twists and turns. I ended up being Mrs. Zhou for 7 years. The first thing he did after being reborn was to get rid of me. Hey, Nian, let's just call it quits. Back then, he wasn't the esteemed Mr. Zhou everyone would later fawn over, just a broke college guy applying for a poverty-stricken student scholarship, so desperate for love, he even dated his crush's best friend. He regretted that decision for a full 10 years. I agreed to leave you alone, but after my identity was exposed. Why did he come looking for me in such a hurry? 1. The bell rang, signaling the end of class. Nian Nian, let's go to the cafeteria together. Without waiting for the 10 years younger Liang Yu, I packed my bag myself, standing beside her. Zhou Tingji's thin lips parted slightly, his gentle, watery eyes gazing at Liang Yu. No need, we'll go ourselves. He Nian is going to be very busy lately. He turned his handsome profile, his tone a gentle reminder, right? I remembered how Zhou Tingji's voice that day was cold and detached as frost, leaving no room for argument. Henian, let's part on good terms. This time, I don't want to miss my chance with Liang Yue. Indeed, he had been filled with regret for a full decade. He regretted ever getting involved with me just to get closer to Liang Yu. He had saddled himself with the label of someone else's boyfriend far too early. Now that he had a second chance at life, he would never let himself do something so foolish again. I gave a slight, wry smile. Yeah, you guys go ahead with Liang Yu. He's right. I've been swamped with the campus competition lately, and I've got rehearsals to get to. At the mention of the campus competition, a flicker passed through Liang Yu's eyes. In my past life, despite holding the massive fortune my parents left behind, I willingly played the part of the devoted wife and mother, pretending to build a life from scratch alongside Zhou Tingji, all to avoid wounding his pride. I only ever supported him from the shadows. When he rented a place, I moved into that tiny, few square meter basement with him, cooking meals every day to wait for his return. Later, when he started his own business, I secretly invested money for him. Back then, he said, "He Nian, I don't know what I'd do without you." Watching the two figures walk away, I called out to Zhou Tingji, "Wait." Zhou Tingji stopped in his tracks and turned to look at me, a hint of impatience already showing. His eyes held a look that said, "I knew it." I reached out a hand and began to speak under his puzzled gaze. "I remember I was the one who topped up your meal card. Since we've broken up, I'd like you to pay me back." Zhou Tingji was taken aback. He probably forgot at that moment that the future Mr. Zhou, who would casually drop tens of thousands on a single meal, was still a broke college student who couldn't even cover his own living expenses. Liang Yu would never have guessed that all those gifts Zhou Tingji gave her, every single meal he treated her to, it was all my money. Out of respect for his dignity, I never told Liang Yu the truth about Zhou Tingji's situation. Feeling sorry for him, I would naturally transfer money to his meal card whenever the three of us ate together. It was always Zhou Tingji who paid. Liang Yu never paid for anything. Like Zhou Tingji, she was also applying for a financial aid scholarship. Sure enough, Liang Yu frowned slightly and gave Zhou Tingji a fleeting, indifferent glance. That single glance was enough to make Zhou Tingji's neck flush crimson. Liang Yu had a penchant for understatement in everything she did. This subtle, understated air was precisely what lifted her above mere labels like goddess or campus belle. I used to genuinely believe she was free from worldly desires. Countless times I had offered her the things I held dear. Looking back now, I can't help but curse myself for being such a damn fool. He gave me a long, searching look before placing the meal card in my palm. "He Nian, we're even now." The cold card felt like my heart in that moment, not painful, but deeply unsettling. Liang Yu looked at me, hesitating to speak. "Nian Nian, are you sure you don't want to reconsider?" I looked at her. I will never forget the day of my wedding anniversary with Zhou Tingji. When Liang Yu barged into our home with a child, right in front of everyone, she knelt before me, begging me not to tear them apart. The 3-year-old child rushed over in tears, hitting me. The bad woman who had stolen her father. Zhou Tingji only acknowledged Liang Yu's existence with a single sentence. "The child is mine. I was in love with Liang Yu all along. You've been in her place for all these years. It's time to give it back." Being betrayed by my best friend and the person closest to me taught me the harshest lesson of my life. Until his dying day, Zhou Tingji believed I had stolen Liang Yu's place, that I had climbed into high society by riding his coattails, and he never once thought highly of me. Now I'm giving Liang Yu her position back. Too, like me, Zhou Tingji lost both his parents. The difference is, I'm the sole surviving heir of the He family, with a vast fortune to my name. He was genuinely poor, so poor he had to work his way through college. To keep him from taking odd jobs all over town, I specifically set up a generous scholarship fund in our department at the university. Zhou Tingji was a top student, earning tens of thousands in awards each year. Combined with his student loans, he had no need to work a part-time job for money. After graduation, I encouraged him to start his own business, quietly funneling money to him in various ways, which paved the way for the future Mr. Zhou he became. Yet, he ended up getting together with Liang Yu, who had returned from abroad after a divorce. This time, he wants to live his own life, and I'm going to live mine. I took out my phone and dialed the number I knew by heart. "Phone June." I agreed to the engagement before my parents passed away, fearing I'd be taken advantage of on my own. They arranged a marriage for me with the Feng family. It's just that I never liked Feng Jun before, so I naturally kept my distance. I think being with Feng Jun is actually pretty good now. At least in his past life, Feng Jun never married and had no women in his life, so he's clean. 3. Within days, the news of my breakup with Zhou Tingji had spread all over the school. He joined the ranks of Liang Yu's many admirers. Wherever Liang Yu was, Zhou Tingji was sure to be. His love for her passionate and direct. Under the dormitory building, Zhou Tingji's tall, slender figure was dappled with light filtering through the tree canopy. Feng Tian looked at me cautiously. "Nian Nian, I'm sure you'll find a man even more handsome and talented than Zhou Tingji someday." I forced a faint smile but said nothing. Everyone says Zhou Tingji has taken a liking to Liang Yu and dumped me. I now go to class every day under the weight of everyone's pitying stares. Apart from feeling a bit awkward at first, I've now learned to simply tune it all out. A shy boy suddenly darted out from the side. "He Nian, this is for you." I looked at the box of imported chocolates in the boy's hand. They were expensive, beautifully packaged, but I knew they weren't for me. They were for Liang Yu. Everyone knew that Liang Yu and I were inseparable best friends. Anyone trying to court Liang Yu would always send gifts to her through me first. It wasn't until a class reunion after graduation that I found out how bad my reputation was. People said I was too timing and always out for a free ride. Liang Yu knew all about it, yet she accepted everything without a shred of guilt, happily enjoying the perks while playing the field. I can't deliver things for you anymore. You'll have to give it to Liang Yu yourself. The boy flushed bright red with embarrassment. Just then, Liang Yu came down from the dormitory. Zhou Tingji stood there, his demeanor solemn and grave. He Nian, what nonsense are you talking about? When did Liang Yu ever accept anything from him? Liang Yu was the pure campus goddess who had never been close with any guy. He felt as if something precious of his was being coveted, and it left him deeply unsettled. Oh, really? After all, in his heart, Liang Yu was his spotless white moonlight. How could she possibly do something like that? Liang Yu, haven't you accepted gifts from other guys? Liang Yu said coolly, Nian Nian, I know you're upset after breaking up with Zhou Tingji. I don't blame you. Her entire demeanor radiated a magnanimous I'm above holding this against you. My tone was even cooler than hers. That expensive phone in your hand was a gift from him. The earphones were from Senior Zhang in the School of Economics and Management. Oh, and he sent you flowers for a whole week. You said flowers weren't practical. So he switched to giving you a box of Dryo lipstick in the muted rose shade. I handled all of them. He Nian, weren't all those from your admirers? Feng Tian pushed up her glasses, her eyes sparkling with gossipy curiosity. I shook my head. They were all for Liang Yu. I gave them all to her. Liang Yu was no longer acting so aloof. I thought these were from you. I scoffed and asked Feng Tian, do you actually believe her? Feng Tian raised her hand. Absolutely not. But with Zhou Tingji glaring at her from the side, she could only cautiously rub her nose and say, perhaps Liang Yu misunderstood. Zhou Tingji said, you're the one who accepted gifts from others, and now you're trying to pin the blame on Liang Yu. He Nian, is this some kind of joke? A dull ache throbbed in my heart, and I swayed unsteadily. What's wrong with you? Zhou Tingji rushed over to help me up, his brow furrowed so deeply it could have crushed a mosquito. I snapped back to reality and pulled my hand away. If you don't believe me, I'll have no choice but to call Senior Zhang and have a face-to-face confrontation with this classmate, and if you still don't believe it, I can find even more people. Watching Liang Yu's clenched fist, I said slowly, I had their contact information. I reported to them every time Liang Yu accepted something. Do you want me to make the call right now? I made a move to grab my phone. Enough, He Nian. You're just jealous that Liang Yu is more popular than you, jealous that she's prettier than you. Your jealousy is so ugly. 4. I heard Feng Tiantian's sharp intake of breath. After losing both his parents, Zhou Tingji matured beyond his years and would never dream of publicly humiliating someone like this. To outsiders, he always presented the image of a gentle, top-performing student, but there was one exception. The mere sight of Liang Yu was enough to stir his emotions. I thought we were kindred spirits, that I was helping him through his struggles. In reality, I was just his only option at the time. I closed my eyes, desperately wanting to tell him, on Liang Yu's list, he didn't even crack the top 10. That's how Zhou Tingji transformed into the formidable Mr. Zhou, a man everyone feared. It was only after the divorce that Liang Yu truly looked at him. All those years, they had been sneaking around behind my back, meeting in secret, reveling in their love, and I, like any ordinary wife, would always nag him to drink less, forbid him from smoking, and force him to go for checkups. I'd go on, repeating the same old warnings I'd given him 1,000 times before. How many times have I looked back and wondered if Zhou Tingji, while he was off enjoying his romantic escapades with Liang Yu, felt the same peak of impatience when receiving my nagging messages to take care of his health. I never told Zhou Tingji that a significant portion of the success he credited to himself was actually due to my efforts behind the scenes. It was a matter of a man's pride, and besides, Zhou Tingji was the one I held closest to my heart. I was more than willing to nurture that boy into an exceptional man, but it's a shame that someone else plucked this man just as he was coming into his prime. He betrayed me, and in the end, he even tried to pin the label of jealousy on me. I think it's necessary to make him face the facts. Zhou Tingji, what gives you the right to stand up for Liang Yu? Ignoring his suddenly frosty expression, I took Feng Tiantian's hand and left. He seemed to have forgotten that Liang Yu wanted nothing to do with him at this point. 5. Perhaps my words had stirred something in him, as Zhou Tingji hadn't waited for Liang Yu downstairs for quite some time. Liang Yu has been busy preparing for the school competition lately and hasn't been paying any attention to Zhou Tingji. To encourage participation, the school specifically announced a prize of 10,000 yuan for the champion. I'm not in it for the money, but Liang Yu really needs that 10,000 yuan. It was this competition that gave Liang Yu her first taste of fame. Riding on that small wave of popularity, she managed to attract quite a few promising young talents. I was about to go on stage to play the piano, and what a coincidence, Liang Yu had also chosen to perform a piano piece. I ran into Liang Yu in the school's piano room. After finishing my piece, I turned and saw Liang Yu standing at the door. She looked a bit pale, but managed a smile and said, "Nian Nian, I had no idea you played so well." I closed the piano lid and gathered my things. "Oh, really, just a little better than you, I suppose." Seeing I was about to leave, Liang Yu stopped me. "Nian Nian, could you please not enter the competition this time? I know you're only competing against me because of Zhou Tingji, but you can't blame me for that. He's the one who keeps pestering me." I really wish Zhou Tingji could see what Liang Yu is like right now, see if she's still the goddess he remembers. My decision to enter the competition has nothing to do with Zhou Tingji. You're right about one thing, who he likes is none of your business. But it's none of mine either. I didn't want to waste another word on her. Ever since she started coveting my marriage and my relationship, there's been nothing left for us to talk about. I just hadn't realized how far Liang Yu would go to stop me from competing. A summer thunderclap boomed, heralding another storm. The rain soaked his hair. "What are you doing here?" I held the umbrella over his head. The instinctive gesture made Zhou Tingji take a few steps back. "He Nian, what will it take for you to give up on entering the competition?" I bit my lip, looking at him impassively. "Why should I give it up?" Zhou Tingji turned away, saying, "If you drop out of this competition, I'll go on a date with you, and if you want more, that could be arranged." I stared at him in disbelief, utterly shocked by what had just come out of his mouth. "Zhou Tingji, you make me sick." I couldn't stand living with Liang Yu any longer and decided to move out of the dorm. The butler and his team efficiently packed up my belongings. Feng Tian stood by, her mouth agape. "He Nian, are all these ladies your family's housekeepers?" I nodded, took off my glasses, and began to apply my makeup. Zhou Tingji doesn't like it when I dress in bright colors. He prefers the plain, understated look that Liang Yu has. It's a shame that I, with my 5 parts allure and 7 parts enchantment, look positively malnourished in simple clothes, like a carnivorous enchantress who's been forced onto a lifelong vegetarian diet. When Zhou Tingji says I'm not as pretty as Liang Yu, he's clearly blind. When Liang Yu returned to the dorm and saw the completely transformed me, she was so taken aback she froze for a second. "Nian Nian, what are you doing?" I changed into my own designer clothes. "Nothing much, I'm just done playing around. I'm moving back home," Feng Tian said enviously. "Liang Yu, you have no idea, He Nian's family has 8 housekeepers and bodyguards. Who would have thought our little rich girl was right here with us all along?" She sweetly threw herself over. "He Nian, don't forget your old friends when you make it big. Remember me, the one who used to gossip and eat melon seeds with you." I smiled, pulled out the LV bag I'd brought from home, and handed it to her. "It's for you. Do you like it?" "I love it. I absolutely love it." Liang Yu's eyes were inscrutable. In the past, I would have given her anything I had like this. Back in my long-absent home, I threw myself onto the bed. No need to pretend I'm broke. No need to worry about Zhou Tingji's finances. Just enjoy life to the fullest. I must have been out of my mind back then. Feng Tian posted on her social media. "Thanks for the gift, my lady, moi." The bag in the picture is the one I gave her. I quietly added my like after everyone else. 5. The butler moved faster than I had expected. Just a few days later, the university announced the cancellation of the annual scholarship for the computer science department. For someone like Zhou Tingji, who relied on that scholarship to pay tuition and get by, this was undoubtedly a major setback. He had no choice but to start working a part-time job again to cover his tuition fees. After Feng Jun and I became a couple, he gradually started appearing in my social circle. Zhou Tingji called. "I heard you're with Feng Jun now." No comment. "He Nian, you don't have to use him to get a rise out of me. It's pointless. I hope you'll think this through and stop doing these ridiculous things." I remembered what Feng Tian said. Zhou Tingji got into a fight over Liang Yu. Mind your own business with Liang Yu. Don't worry about my affairs. The phone was slammed down with a click. That day, Feng Tian sent a message. Zhou Tingji was working a part-time job at a Western restaurant. Guess what? He saw Liang Yu having dinner with a man from outside the university, and they were reportedly acting very intimate. Zhou Tingji rushed over and started a fight with the guy. "Don't you think he's overstepping? Liang Yu isn't even his girlfriend. What's with the overreaction?" But I understood where Zhou Tingji was coming from. Liang Yu had borne him a daughter. In his mind, she was already his woman. so of course he couldn't stand to see her being so intimate with another man. However, Liang Yu was a girl with big ambitions. He was single-mindedly focused on self-improvement. At this stage, Zhou Tingji fell far short of Liang Yu's standards. She only showed him any kindness when she needed to use him. On the day of the campus competition, Zhou Tingji was by Liang Yu's side. He looked utterly exhausted, with heavy dark circles under his eyes, and his shirt was slightly disheveled. With a keen eye, I noticed the fabric of his shirt was starting to peel. It seems his life hasn't improved since I left. His eyes met mine for a second before shifting to Feng Jun beside me. Our arrival, Feng Jun's and mine, caused a minor stir, and he quickly noticed Zhou Tingji's unusual behavior. Feng Jun shot me a glance, his eyes holding a silent warning. Premium content. 6. Feng Tian waved at me, her eyes gleaming with that familiar, shrewd sparkle as she waited for me to sit down beside her. She gave herself a thumbs up. My mouth must be blessed. I said you'd find a man more handsome and talented than Zhou Tingji. And look, you found one just like that. I winked at her. All thanks to you. On the stage, Liang Yu wore a white gown, her silky long hair flowing down her back, perfectly embodying her goddess-like image. The applause rose from the audience as the song ended. Zhou Tingji stood near the stage, hands in his pockets, watching her quietly. I have no idea who scheduled my act right after Liang Yu's. After stepping off the stage, Liang Yu's gaze swept past me without a flicker before she walked over to Zhou Tingji and took his arm. My eyelids were half lowered, my expression blank. Feng Tian muttered under her breath, Nian, don't let her get to you. I gave a faint smile. By this point, Zhou Tingji could no longer stir my emotions. I walked onto the stage, passing by Zhou Tingji as we brushed shoulders. Nian. I stopped in my tracks. He said, you can't play the piano well at all. Why are you setting yourself up for humiliation? I looked at Liang Yu with a wry smile. So that's what you told him, that I can't play well, and to stop me from going on stage. It's not Liang Yu's fault. She was just worried about you, afraid you'd embarrass yourself in front of everyone. Oh, really? Well, thank her for me. But I don't need it. I turned and walked onto the stage. He didn't even spare a glance at Liang Yu's hypocritical face. A Croatian rhapsody flowed from beneath my fingers. This powerful and emotional piece not only expresses the hope of the Croatian people after the war, but also represents my own resolve, after my rebirth, to cast off the past and embrace a new life. As the final note was pressed, the entire hall fell silent. A few seconds later, a thunderous applause erupted. Under the stage lights, my beauty was dazzling, flawless. I heard whistles from the audience, heard Feng Tian whooping and jumping up and down. A scorching gaze pierced through the layers of the crowd and settled on me. I looked back. Feng Juanqing's handsome face in the crowd was lit up with a wild, unrestrained smile. I won the championship without a doubt. 7. After the lively commotion died down, I saw Feng Jun off. With the campus competition concluded, the school grounds, now quiet after the frenzy, held a melancholy beauty like the fading light of dusk. Zhou Tingji's impassioned voice carried on the wind. Liang Yu, why won't you believe me? How can you expect me to believe you? You keep saying you love me, but your eyes are always on other women. And what about you? Aren't you juggling several men yourself? What do you take yourself for? For the first time, Liang Yu's voice trembled with emotion. What choice do I have? My brother's treatment costs 300,000. Can you give me 300,000? If you can, I'll cut off all contact with those other men right now. Never see them again. Can you do that? A brief silence fell. Just as I thought Zhou Tingji would agree, I heard his low, somber voice. Liang Yu, don't push me. No one is pushing you. From the very beginning, I've never asked you for anything. Oh, you don't. Have you forgotten what you said when you were sobbing and begging me to go ask Yan to drop out of the competition? Zhou Tingji, you still claim you have no feelings for Yan, seeing how beautiful she looked today. Are you having regrets now? After the two of them left, I remained seated in the same spot for a long time, so that's where the 300,000 came from. In our past life, Zhou Tingji had taken out a loan from a loan shark. It wasn't until they showed up at my door and I almost lost a hand that I finally realized, but no matter how hard I pressed him, I couldn't get him to tell me what he'd done with the money. I was the one who paid off his debt, lied and told him I'd borrowed it from a friend, and smoothed the whole thing over. So, the 300,000 went to Liang Yu, but none of that has anything to do with me anymore. Whether Zhou Tingji chooses to take out a loan shark like he did in his past life is entirely his decision. Time passed by slowly. After the campus competition, I became famous at school, and my name gradually started to be associated with the label of school beauty. People started sending me flowers, and I got hit on at school, but I turned them all down. When Feng Tian hesitantly told me that people at school were joking around, my mind was still on Zhou Tingji. I immediately posted about my engagement to Feng Jun on my social media feed. The next second, Feng Jun had shared it on his public social platform. As a public figure, the news about him reached the school in no time. Lately, the way Liang Yu looks at me is positively murderous. Come to think of it, the only man Liang Yu has ever praised is Feng Jun. He was a senior, a campus heartthrob a few years ahead of us. His resume was pure gold, a prodigy backed by the Feng family, known for his sharp wit, biting humor, and a complete disinterest in women. That's exactly Liang Yu's ultimate goal. But someone like Feng Jun would never cross paths with Liang Yu. She was just daydreaming. Nian Nian, are you really with Feng Jun? I thought you always had a thing for Zhou Tingji. Oh, not anymore. It just slipped out. So where did Zhou Tingji's money come from? I snapped back to attention and studied her carefully. Only then did I notice that, compared to her anxious expression from before, she had returned to her usual detached demeanor. It didn't take a genius to figure it out. Liang Yu's family troubles must have been resolved. Looks like Zhou Tingji still couldn't bear to let her go. I offered her a suggestion in good faith. I won't give him any money. As for where his money came from, you can go ask him yourself. Liang Yu was left speechless. She wasn't stupid. Zhou Tingji was a college guy who had to earn his own tuition, yet he suddenly gave her 300,000. What kind of price he must have paid for it was something even Liang Yu probably didn't dare to dwell on. 8. As my senior year approached, I gradually withdrew from campus life and started working at the He family business much earlier than most. In my past life, I had professional agents managing the He business, so I rarely had to worry about it. Once I gradually transferred the responsibilities of the He business to Zhou Tingji, I stopped working altogether. I have no intention of handing over the He family business to anyone. The marriage alliance with Feng Jun was simply because he was a suitable match. I have no plans to transfer control of the He family business. Life has been intense and hectic, buried in work at the company every day. I've lost a bit of weight, but my spirits are higher than ever. It's quite nice, not having my life revolve around a man. In my free time, I'd gossip with Feng Tian about how our classmates were doing, or learn a thing or two from Feng Jun about managing the company. The days just drifted by. Feng Tian said that Zhou Tingji and Liang Yu are together now. I just raised an eyebrow, perhaps knowing how Zhou Tingji got that 300,000. Liang Yu's heart softened too. Unfortunately, I guessed wrong again. The day Zhou Tingji cornered me in the cafe, a torrential downpour began outside. Dark clouds loomed on the horizon, making his silhouette appear all the more desolate. I had just met Feng Jun when we ran into Zhou Tingji. Surprisingly, the encounter was calm. Watching Zhou Tingji's furrowed brow, I made the introductions for Feng Jun. Feng Jun, the future tech tycoon and sole heir to the Feng family, was also Zhou Tingji's most detested business rival in his past life. At that moment, Feng Jun's gaze was clear and steady as he gave Zhou Tingji a measured, unhurried nod. Feng Jun's looks were on par with Zhou Tingji's, but his icy personality and sharp tongue took the edge off his handsomeness. Yet, his exceptional aura more than made up for it. When the two of them stood together, your eyes were always drawn to Feng Jun first. His gaze lingered on Feng Jun for a moment before he turned to me and said, "Let's talk." I gave a non-committal shrug. "No, thanks, Feng Jun and I have things to do." Perhaps he had never seen me reject him so bluntly before. Zhou Tingji seemed caught off guard, reflexively saying, "I came all the way to find you." Ha! Feng Jun let out a light chuckle, meeting Zhou Tingji's furious gaze. "How very gracious of you to stoop to my level." I turned my head away so he wouldn't see the smile playing on my lips. I was quite surprised when Zhou Tingji didn't retort. In their past life, they were like fire and ice. Zhou Tingji had become even more reserved. I sighed. He had changed, too. It seemed Zhou Tingji wouldn't leave unless things were spelled out clearly. I said to Feng Jun, "I need to handle some personal matters. Let's call it a day for now." Feng Jun's eyes were deep and inscrutable like a dark pool. He turned and left. Look at that little attitude. 9. Zhou Tingji looked at me with an inscrutable expression. So the rumors are true. I was taken aback. After Feng Jun announced his engagement, I was inexplicably dragged into it. He was already the center of attention, and I got dragged into the spotlight too. The heiress of the He group. So, you're the heiress of the He group. He closed his eyes for a moment. I took a lazy sip of coffee, then looked up and fixed my gaze on him. "What exactly are you trying to say?" He lowered his eyes. "So you've been lying to me all along." I turned my head to watch the sudden downpour on the horizon. "That's right, I deceived you. And you deceived me. We're even. How can we ever be even? What do you want?" Zhou Tingji let out a sigh. He Nian, give me another chance. I nearly spat out my coffee. Zhou Tingji, you've truly impressed me. He looked up, his tone desolate. Liang Yu is different from what I imagined. He Nian didn't seem to possess a trace of a woman's gentleness. She was bright and magnanimous, tackling everything with fiery zeal, yet Zhou Tingji knew just how cherished he had been by her in the past. She reserved all her tenderness for him. Liang Yu appeared outwardly feminine, as clear and gentle as water. It was only after getting to know her that one realized how cold Liang Yu truly was. Perhaps it was because he wasn't yet the esteemed Mr. Zhou that everyone would later fawn over. I had the misfortune of witnessing Liang Yu's heartlessness. Once he had no money and was of no further use. Liang Yu left without a second thought. She continued to flit from one man to another. He couldn't get Liang Yu to share a 10-square-meter basement with him, let alone join him in starting a business or, like He Nian, have a warm meal waiting for him at home. When he lived in the basement, he would often think back to what he had been pondering at this same time in his previous life. Back then, Liang Yu had also taken his money, but since he was He Nian's boyfriend, they naturally never got together. Zhou Tingji thought he would wait until he had settled things with He Nian, wait until he could offer Liang Yu a good life. But what Zhou Tingji ended up waiting for was Liang Yu flying far away abroad to marry a wealthy foreign man. He was stewing in his own resentment, consumed every day by thoughts of how to make money and how to win Liang Yu back. As for He Nian, he just needed her at the time. That's all. Did you know how it would end all along? Is that why you dumped me so cleanly? I stood up. Zhou Tingji, even now you still think it's everyone else's fault. Zhou Tingji suddenly sprang up and grabbed me. He Nian, you hated Feng Jun. Have you forgotten? I stopped in my tracks. I never hated him. Back then, it was you who disliked him, so I had no choice but to follow suit. In truth, he was the fiancé my family arranged for me long ago. If not for you, our paths would never have diverged. Zhou Tingji, let's go our separate ways. I'm no longer an obstacle between you and Liang Yu. You got what you wanted. You should be happy. 10. The heavy rain showed no sign of letting up, continuing to fall in a relentless downpour. I didn't call the family driver and was about to hail a cab myself. A sudden umbrella shielded me from above, the air thick with moisture and the clean scent of laundry detergent filling my nostrils. Feng Jun held the umbrella, not looking at me. I'll walk you back. I didn't refuse. He Nian, let's get married. Even Feng Jun himself was stunned by his own words. Sheltered beneath the umbrella, he resembled a fallen noble, suddenly touched by the mundane warmth of the mortal world. A glimmer gradually brightened within his shimmering gaze. I brought him back to the villa. Raindrops trickled from my hair down his neck, and I wet my lips. The next instant, he swept me up into his arms. I buried my face in his chest, blushing as I pointed toward the bathroom. Don't you dare think of another man from now on. Feng Jun lifted a strand of hair by my ear and whispered a threat. You can only think of me, or I can't promise you'll have the strength to go looking for another man. And then I had no strength left. Feng Jun is the kind of person who effortlessly wins people over. I think if he wanted to, making a woman fall in love with him would be all too easy. 11. I never thought I'd see Zhou Tingji standing before me again. Nian Nian, have you been well? I looked at his sloppily washed clothes and the unshaven, disheveled look about him. I thought we had made ourselves perfectly clear. A scattering of cigarette butts lay at Zhou Tingji's feet, though he never smoked. He gave a bitter smile. Liang Yu is gone. So, what are you doing here? Zhou Tingji suddenly stepped forward, grabbed my hand, and slammed it hard against his own face. I was utterly startled and pulled my hand away. You're insane. His eyes were frighteningly red as he grabbed my shoulders. Nian Nian, please forgive me. Let's go back to how we were before. We'll start our business and work hard together. With you as my supportive partner, I see my own heart clearly now. It turns out I never loved Liang Yu. I was just unwilling to accept it. It's always been you that I love. His grip on my shoulders was painfully tight. I winced and said softly, let go of me. You're hurting me, as if snapping back to reality. Zhou Tingji released his grip on me, but his hand still hovered protectively, holding me in a loose, careful embrace. Nian Nian, please say yes. I took a few steps back, my expression darkening as I replied, no, we've already broken up. I won't get back together with you. Just give it up. That's not true. You love me so much. How could you not change your mind? Nian Nian, I've given up on Liang Yu. Do you hear me? I've let her go. I snapped. You didn't listen. From the moment you betrayed me, there was no going back. I don't believe it. You wouldn't do this to me. You love me. I love you too. Let's start over. Together. This time, I promise I'll treat you right. Zhou Tingji wasn't listening to a word I said, insisting I agree to get back together with him. His expression began to turn frantic. I was somewhat frightened by his wild look, struggling without end. 12. Zhou Tingji grabbed my hand and pulled me forward, charging ahead, soon. He had brought me to a deserted rooftop. Nian Nian, I have nothing left, how could you bear to watch me die? Below us was a 5-story abandoned shopping mall. Countless steel beams and concrete slabs were piled up down there. My heart was in my throat. I didn't dare provoke him any further. Zhou Tingji had completely lost his former vigor and ambition. At this moment, he more closely resembled a stray dog that nobody wanted. Zhou Tingji, calm down. Even without Liang Yu, you can still have your career. Even without money, you can earn it again. You have a bright future ahead. I am merely a passing scene on your journey. Once it's gone, it's gone. He let out a wretched laugh, laughing so hard he was nearly out of breath. And still he did not stop. Don't try to fool me. I know all my past successes were only because you were pulling the strings behind the scenes. I have no future on my own. Zhou Tingji had calmed down again by now. He stepped forward. I backed away in fear, my foot kicking over a loose brick. It clattered to the ground and shattered into pieces. Ah, I screamed in terror. Zhou Tingji rushed over and held me. Nian Nian, don't be afraid, I won't hurt you, I promise. I was so scared that I began to cry. Zhou Tingji, just let me go. We can't go back to how things were. Feng Jun will find me soon. Hearing Feng Jun's name, Zhou Tingji's agitation flared up again. You don't love him, you love me. He's just a tool you picked up to spite me when I neglected you. Nian Nian, he's deceived you. Have you forgotten how much you used to despise him? No, that's not it. I shook my head frantically. No, you're wrong. Have you forgotten what you said? You told me I was in Liang Yu's place, that I should give it back to her. I did exactly that. So what are you doing now? Zhou Tingji crouched on the ground in agony, clutching his head. Stop it, just stop. He reached out and wrapped his arms around my legs. I'm sorry, Nian Nian, please, just forgive me this once. 13. No. Feng Jun hauled himself up the stairs, panting heavily and drenched in sweat, his icy gaze fixed squarely on Zhou Tingji. Get your filthy hands off her. Zhou Tingji stared at the man before him. A surge of anger welled up inside him. If it weren't for him, He Nian would never have left. If not for him, he would have definitely won He Nian back. Then everything would fall back into the pattern of his past life. He would achieve fame and fortune, marry He Nian, and this time, he would never betray her. He would only stay away from Liang Yu and devote himself wholeheartedly to He Nian. They would have their own children and a blissfully happy life. He Nian would cherish him just as she had before. Zhou Tingji saw red. He charged forward, consumed by the single thought of making this person disappear forever. Feng Jun dodged Zhou Tingji's punch and lunged at him in return. The two men were locked in a fierce brawl, like males fighting over a mate. Neither held back. Feng Jun took a punch to the face, then retaliated with a blow to Zhou Tingji's jaw. I rushed forward and threw myself on top of Feng Jun. Zhou Tingji, stop. Unexpectedly, Zhou Tingji halted. 14. He stumbled and fell to the ground in a heap. Nian Nian, you're so heartless. I hurriedly checked the wound on Feng Jun's face, and upon hearing that, I shot to my feet. Smack. My palm stung as I slapped Zhou Tingji across the face. He froze, yet, I began talking about something completely unrelated. I remember that day, after Liang Yu barged into our home, you shielded her and took her away. You left me there alone, with everyone staring at me. I couldn't move. My whole body was trembling. I thought you'd come back that day. That you'd explain, but you never did. I waited from dusk till dawn, and there was never any word from you. Do you know why I drove out that night? I looked at Zhou Tingji's frozen expression and whispered, it was Liang Yu. She sent me photos of you two together. I went looking for you like a madwoman, and I found you. I got you into the car. But her words kept echoing in my ears. I was so sick of it all. I crouched down, slowly leaning in close to him, and murmured by his ear. So I just floored it. I crashed. I was going to make sure you went down with me. Seeing his vacant stare fixed on my face, I let out a bitter laugh. Now do you really think there's any way we could ever be together? I got up and walked over to Feng Jun, taking him by the hand to lead him away. A long moment passed. From behind us came Zhou Tingji's choked, desperate roar, a sound like a small, cornered animal whimpering from deep in its throat. It was carried away on the wind. 15. Feng Jun and I had a wedding that was both lavish and understated. Now that you know my secret, are you afraid of me? My love is not to be betrayed. Be careful, or I might just devour you. In my wedding dress, I smiled as I straightened Feng Jun's suit. He caught my fidgeting hands. Darling, the prenup is signed. I don't have a penny to my name. Relax. There's no one else in the world quite like you. With such a passion for rescuing men on the brink of ruin, I shot him an angry glare. That day, when he came back, He wrung out every last detail about me and Zhou Tingji, and only let me off after making me write a letter of guarantee 10 times over. After that, he kept me under his protection, and I never saw Zhou Tingji again. I only heard the occasional scrap of news about him from Phone Tian Tian. Word got out about the loan shark debt he took on for Liang Yu, faced with the crushing interest. He had no choice but to work tirelessly to pay it off. Every day was a relentless grind. Unlike in the previous life, without me there to clean up his mess, his hand was broken by someone. Perhaps Zhou Tingji is still the same Zhou Tingji, not a useless man who only rose to prominence by riding my coattails. Maybe he'll start another business in the future, but this time, he'll have to rely on himself. A few years into the marriage, Liang Yu, just like in her past life, got divorced and returned to her home country in disgrace. I heard she went to see Zhou Tingji, but he refused to meet with her. The last time I saw Liang Yu, she showed up at the party arm in arm with a man old enough to be her grandfather. Zhou Tingji was also in attendance. Using the knowledge from his past life, he founded a modestly successful company. It wasn't as prosperous as in his previous life, but it was doing quite well. His name still comes up in the news from time to time. When asked in interviews why he never married, he would just smile and deftly change the subject. Whenever this happened, Feng Jun would be in a bad mood for days, inevitably followed by him posting pictures of us on social media. He still didn't like Zhou Tingji, always seeing him as a ticking time bomb. Just like in their past life, the two of them simply couldn't stand each other. In a quiet corner of the banquet, Zhou Tingji smoked in silence. Liang Yu's face was pale, tears tracing a path down her cheeks. Yet she remained strikingly beautiful, but her beauty went unnoticed. Tingji, how have you been all these years? I've missed you so much while I was abroad. If my family hadn't needed the money back then, I never would have married and moved overseas. Did you ever think of me? We had stumbled into a tense standoff, and both Feng Jun and I came to an awkward halt. Zhou Tingji saw me, offering a slight smile and a nod. Noticing the slight swell of my abdomen, he silently stubbed out his cigarette. Miss Liang, please make yourself at home. True to form, he didn't even glance at Liang Yu, walking right past us without a second look. Feng Jun shot me a sidelong glance, pulling me tight against him. He looked utterly spooked, jumping at shadows. Liang Yu stared wide-eyed, as if she couldn't believe Zhou Tingji could so casually treat her like thin air. Meeting my gaze, which held a hint of a smirk, he turned his head away in a flustered manner. Arm in arm with Feng Jun, I plunged into this world of fame and fortune. My ties with others had come to an end. It was time for everyone to go their separate ways. The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more exciting. Winter has come again, every year. My husband and son inexplicably develop an allergic reaction to me, breaking out in rashes all over, and we can never pinpoint the cause. Because of this, they've drawn a line between us and moved to live in another house. Even when I fell and bled profusely from my head, they didn't come back. Even after I was hospitalized from a car accident, it remained a battle I had to fight alone. We've become the strangest of family members. I'm going to be the death of them. I endured the bitter winter alone, waiting and longing in solitude, hoping for the warm spring to return my sweet family to me. But then, I unexpectedly overheard a conversation between two people. Dad, we only get to see Auntie Sue in the winter. Can't we make the allergy season last longer? Auntie Sue, my husband's childhood sweetheart. Dad ruffled his son's hair. It's not good to take too much allergy medicine. Auntie Sue would worry too. Dad will bring you over when he has time. The son clapped his hands. Yay, I love the mango candies in winter the most. That way I get to see Auntie Sue. Mangoes, the very allergen I've gone to such lengths to keep my son from. The one that could kill him. After standing in the bitter wind for a long time, I quietly made my way home. When the warm spring returned, I withdrew all my care and concern. Eat whatever you like. If you think I'm abusing you, go ahead and call the police. I don't want custody anyway. My son wasn't used to me acting this way. He just stood there, silent for a long while. After what felt like an eternity, he finally tore open the wrapper of the mango candy. The look of anticipation in his eyes cut me to the core. He probably thought that eating it would bring him back to his mother's arms. I've told you countless times, the warnings engraved on the school badge are completely pointless. Sui-chan rushed over in a panic and knocked the candy out of his son's hand. Shiran, what's wrong with you today? You're completely out of it. Our son almost ate the mango candy. You know how severe his allergy is and how dangerous it can be. It's not like this is news to you. Yeah, I know. I was like a clown, avoiding anything and everything related to mangoes. When buying snacks or milk, I scrutinized every single word on the labels. Terrified of missing something, I told my son over and over again, you must not eat any mango anyone gives you, understand, otherwise. You'll end up in the hospital getting a shot that'll make your backside feel like it's on fire. I repeated it tirelessly to the teachers and classmates once more. Zixuan is allergic to mangoes. Please keep a close eye out. I treated mangoes like a sworn enemy, but that piece of mango candy was given by Su Yichen. It was their ticket to see Su's mom. I composed my expression. How did he get mango candy? Shouldn't you be the one to answer that? A flicker of panic crossed Su Yichen's eyes before he brushed it off with a casual remark and took his son upstairs. They were used to waiting for me to prepare a lavish table of dishes, surrounded by handcrafted gifts, celebrating the family's reunion, but not this time. The dining table was completely bare. Su Yichen frowned. Shiran, what's wrong with you today? He saw the redness in my eyes and sighed with a touch of helplessness. Are you still upset? I'll find a way to fix what ails us both. Blame this wretched, allergy-ridden winter for keeping me away when you needed me most. My fingernails dug deep into my palms, so he still remembered. When I was pregnant, my mother was diagnosed with leukemia. Su Yichen wanted to save the baby, but I wanted to save my mother. I'm donating my bone marrow, and no one is going to stop me. No one faced a harder choice than I did. I loved my baby too, but she was my mother. But it was as if my mother had gotten wind of the news, and her health began to deteriorate rapidly. She was no longer a candidate for the transplant. It was then we learned she hadn't been taking her medication properly. She had given her own chance at survival to the new life. I gritted my teeth through the delivery, but the postpartum hormonal shifts still plunged me into depression. Winters were the worst. When I was left alone, a profound sense of gloom seemed to scream from every corner. I just can't seem to feel any joy. I've thought about ending it all several times, but then I think of my son. The child that mother brought home never grew up, and in the end, I couldn't bring myself to do it. To keep them around, I'd wrap myself up like a plastic mannequin every year, even wearing a gas mask, but it seems they can't even share the same air as me. They still break out in hives, and we can never pinpoint the allergen. Su Yichen hurried out the door with his son. Shiran, the allergies are bad, but let's just get through it. I'll bring the child back in the spring. I couldn't make sense of it. I kept showering, scrubbing my back until it bled. In a self-punishing way, I felt this was heaven's punishment for me. I lay in the bathtub and cried myself to sleep. That agonizing winter was a bitter struggle. It was all just a scam. Chapter 2. I removed Su Yichen's hand and went back to my room alone. My son ended up in the hospital that night. He couldn't resist the mango candy and ate it himself. Children can't hide their true feelings. Even in a feverish daze, he was still murmuring, I want Mama Su. I don't want to go home. Each word cut like a knife. Having just finished speaking with the doctor, I nearly lost my footing. I handed the notes I had taken to Su Yichen and let out a long sigh. Let's get a divorce. He can go live with his precious Auntie Su. Su Yichen scoffed. You'd believe the nonsense a child spouts. He looked me in the eye, his explanation a strange mix of sincerity and pretense. You know Sun Yanwei too. I haven't had any contact with her since we got married. I took our son to see her that one time, and the kid probably got his memories mixed up. Seeing someone after a long absence can feel novel. It's only natural. Before I could even react, Sun Yanwei came rushing over and went straight to our son. She picked up the child with a pained expression and started scolding me. Sister Shiran, how could he be allergic to mangoes? He's such a good boy. Why did you have to put him through this? Just a couple of days ago, I had him looking all plump and healthy. The people around us all stopped in their tracks. A stepmother can never love a child like their real mother. Poor kid. This is why you shouldn't get divorced so lightly. Perhaps noticing the intensity of my gaze, she quickly tried to explain. Shiran, please don't take it the wrong way. That's not what I meant. I'm just so worried about the child. Why does he always have to suffer like this? I turned and went to the bathroom, splashing some water on my face to calm myself down. He endured all that suffering just to get away from me, to go see his Auntie Sue, from the age of 3 until now. When I returned and was about to go in, the room was filled with laughter and cheerful voices. Daddy, I want to stay with Mommy a little longer, he pleaded so sweetly, and Sun Yanwei's face was full of hopeful anticipation. Su Yichen refused without a second thought. No, it was already dangerous enough for you to come here so rashly. I told you we can't let this get back to Shiran. Sun Yanwei bit her lower lip, pleading with a pout. Just this once, okay, I'll make sure to avoid Shiran. I'll leave as soon as I'm sure the child is healthy. I only see him for 3 months a year. What's a few more days? Su Yichen stared into her eyes and finally relented. Just this once. I gave a self-deprecating laugh. I felt like the other woman, the one who breaks up a family. The doctor entered, looked at Su Yichen, and grew visibly annoyed when he couldn't answer any of the questions. What is the child's allergy history? What medications has he taken before? What were his most severe symptoms? Haven't you, as parents, paid attention to any of this? Sun Yanwei twisted her fingers nervously, while Su Yichen awkwardly sent me a message. Just then, I pushed the door open and walked in. Tell me, never mind. I gave the doctor a detailed account of my son's condition. He's my own flesh and blood. I couldn't bear to see him suffer. Back in the hospital room, Sun Yanwei made a show of leaving. My son looked at me and burst into loud, wailing sobs. No. No, I want Auntie Sue. The piercing cries echoed through the ward. I knew they were putting on quite a performance to make me leave and clear the space for them. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I held them back as I looked at my son. Fine, I won't come back. Chapter 3. That night, I had a terrible headache. In my dazed state, I accidentally called Su Yichen. He came back immediately to pour me water and give me medicine. Don't blame the child. It's just a phase of novelty. In a few days, he'll be crying for his mom again. This is a good chance for you to rest properly. You've lost weight these past few days. Only after seeing I was feeling much better did he return to the hospital. But in the days that followed, I became extremely drowsy. When I woke up, my mouth tasted bitter, and I was hit by waves of sharp, cramping pain in my stomach. I went to the hospital alone. The doctor looked at my expression, puzzled. Did you change your medication? Your previous prescription was working very well. You shouldn't switch it for no reason. I shook my head. I always carry my medication with me, and it was still in the original packaging, but the doctor picked it up, gave it a quick check, and immediately knew something was wrong. This is similar to a sleeping pill, and you're intolerant to them, aren't you? I prescribed them for you once before when you were distressed and couldn't sleep, and you had this exact reaction. Your sleep is fine now. Who's been giving this to you? A chill ran through my entire body. The image of Su Yichen messing with the medicine flashed through my mind, and I could hardly believe it. Su Yichen must have fed me sleeping pills, just because he was annoyed by my disturbance last night and wanted to prevent it from happening again. Yet, just a while ago, Su Yichen was the one who warned me. All medicine is somewhat poisonous, so you must be absolutely certain not to make a mistake. The best way to leave me undisturbed now is, ironically, to fall into a deep sleep. I smiled a bitter smile. It felt like my heart was being carved open, slice by slice. I went home to pack my things. I couldn't put off the divorce any longer. While rummaging through some things, a Chinese language test paper fluttered down. On it was the teacher's perfect score comment, a sincere love, reserved only for mom, excellent. For a fleeting moment, I was lost in a memory. Back when my son first started kindergarten, the very first song he learned was Only a Mother's Love is True. I held his hand as we walked home, and he babbled a little tune. Mom, I'll buy you a big house when I grow up. You're the best mom. I picked up the exam paper and began to read it. My mother and I are like frost on a winter's night. We can only form together in the cold, and we melt away when it warms, so I just kept hoping for winter to come early. Every word was filled with love, but none of it was for me. A crushing sense of defeat broke my spirit. After sitting alone for a long time, I stood up, carefully cleaned my mother's memorial tablet, and held it close to my chest. Mom, the legacy you left me is too heavy. I'm taking you away from here. I don't want anyone anymore. The sound of the lock turning echoed as Su Yichen brought his son home from the hospital, still young and unable to keep his thoughts to himself. The boy picked up right where he left off. Dad, another 9 months of this. I have to sit up straight, stand up straight, can't eat this, can't eat that, it's torture. Su Yichen gave him a light tap on the head. Don't talk nonsense. I'm doing this for your own good. The boy pouted, but I'm really unhappy. Auntie Sue would never do this, so that's what this is about. Hearing those words again, I was surprised by my own calmness. Those 9 difficult months for him were a time I cherished with all my heart. I lived in constant fear, terrified that the 3-month allergic phase would be prolonged, yet in their eyes, it was nothing but a calamity. Seeing me in the bedroom, Su Yichen thought I hadn't heard. After scolding the child, he brought him over. Shiran, this little rascal is just too mischievous. It's a good thing you didn't go to the hospital, or he would have worn you out completely. Chapter 4. I murmured a soft reply. I placed my mother's memorial tablet into my bag. I made up an excuse and took the marriage certificate to see a lawyer, who saw through it immediately. The young man offered comfort. This marriage certificate is a forgery. We've seen quite a few of these lately. You don't need a divorce, and you can actually sue them for producing a fake document. I am utterly exhausted, and my silhouette is unbearably lonely. All these years, I feel like nothing but a clown, without even the right to voice my grievances. The family I hold dear is not my family at all. I was driven to the brink of madness. The child I risked my life to bring into this world wasn't even mine. The only thing we share is a slight resemblance in our faces. How could he do this to me? Just before my mother passed away, I became the very mistress she despised most, giving birth to the illegitimate child she would have loathed. When I got home, Sun Yanwei was there again. She quickly stood up upon seeing me. Oh, Shiran's back. I should be going too. I was just passing by and thought I'd check in on how the child is recovering. I stopped her. Don't go. There's something we need to clear up. I pulled the fake marriage certificate from my bag, my voice calm yet broken. I want to hear an explanation. I'm like a self-destructive lunatic. What misunderstanding could there even be? He's kept it from me for 6 years, but I just want to hear it. I begged him to spin another lie, to tell me the lawyer was lying, that I was his wife. All these years, we'd been loving, sweet, and simply happy, that allergy was just a curse. I've been praying on my knees all these years, and it's almost broken now. Su Yichen, visibly uncomfortable under my stare, finally spoke with resignation. Shiran, Nianwei was in a bit of trouble back then. She needed frequent treatment, and it was a real hassle without a guardian's signature. I had no choice but you didn't overthink it. My ears went deaf, filled with a deafening buzz. Enough. I don't want to hear any more. I don't even have a proper title or status. How can I make a fuss without any standing? Su Yichen nudged my shoulder. Shiran, calm down. I was calm enough, but I couldn't grasp what he meant. I didn't even dare raise a hand, couldn't shout for him to get out. I was the other woman. I suddenly felt like laughing. I was the one who didn't belong in this house. I couldn't help but remember how he started traveling for work frequently not long after we got married, and I suppose I should thank myself for having a child. It gave them the perfect excuse, allergies, to leave for a full 3 months every year. That must have been so hard for them. Su Yichen stared at me, dumbfounded. Shiran, please don't be like this. My marriage to Nianwei is a sham. It's meant to be annulled. It's just that Nianwei's health hasn't been great these past few years, so I haven't gotten around to it. I'll go and have it annulled in a few days. Sun Yanwei also came over to apologize, but she knocked over a shelf. When the shelf fell, Su Yichen grabbed me first, but in the next instant, he let go to shield Sun Yanwei. I was knocked to the ground by the shelf, a gash torn open on my arm, blood flowing freely. Meanwhile, the father and son both rushed to crowd around Sun Yanwei. Are you hurt anywhere? Does it hurt? You're not strong to begin with. Come on, let's get you to the hospital right away. Amidst their concerned gazes, I struggled to my feet alone, leaning on my bloodied hand, and walked straight out. I began to sing the love song from our wedding. Back then, our eyes held only a tender, profound gaze for one another. Let's not see each other again. When Su Yichen turned around, Lin Shiran was gone. All that remained on the floor was a streak of blood. He shot to his feet and bolted out of the room, but he was met only by an empty, desolate corridor. Chapter 5. Su Yichen returned to the room, and his son looked behind him with confusion. Where's Mom? Su Yichen couldn't quite describe what he was feeling, but something just felt off. Mom went out on some business. Dad's going to find her now. You stay here with Auntie Sue for a little while. I'll be back soon. It only dawned on him later that these forms of address were rather inappropriate. In the past, thinking it was just kids being casual, he hadn't paid it any mind. Su Yichen rushed out the door in a hurry, searching everywhere, but he couldn't see Lin Shiran anywhere. She had never been like this before. There were no hysterical accusations, no breakdown into sobs. Just like that, she left in silence. As if abandoned by the whole world, she had grown much thinner. It seemed that every winter, Lin Shiran would become extremely gaunt. It was only during those 9 months of reunion that she came alive, finding new ways to cook delicious meals for them and savoring the moments of family togetherness. But now, this year is very different, starting with that reunion dish that never reappeared, and the smiling faces that never gathered again. Everything, absolutely everything, was telling him that Lin Shiran had found something out. Her heart ached, unable to believe it could be true. She wanted to refute it, to prove it wrong, but she never imagined that all of it was real. Su Yichen anxiously ran his fingers through his hair, tousling it. Back home, Sun Yanwei held her son in her arms. The boy clung to her, looking every bit like a real mother and son. Sun Yanwei was still talking nonsense with the boy. Sweetie, if both your moms fell into the river, who would you save first? The boy opened his eyes wide, not hesitating for a second. Mommy, you. Sun Yanwei gave a smug smile and planted a kiss on him. Witnessing this, Su Yichen felt an indescribable pang of discomfort. How could she teach the child to say such things? Little by little, she had already instilled in their son the notion that Sun Yanwei was more important than Lin Shiran. He stepped forward and picked up his son, his tone turning cold. Nianwei, you should head back for now. I'll contact you if anything comes up. Sun Yanwei was not satisfied and searched for something else to say. Did your sister storm off in a huff? It's fine, she'll be back in a few days. Just let me stay here a while longer, to spend a few more days with the child. The son celebrated with joy. This only made Su Yichen feel worse. He shook his head, trying to suppress the unpleasant emotions. No need, you should head back now. Sun Yanwei actually wanted to stay the night. Su Yichen was absolutely furious. I said no, I want to be alone. Sun Yanwei was thus forced to leave, her eyes filled with unmistakable resentment. Su Yichen calmed down, looked at his son, and gave him a stern instruction. You can't call Sun Yanwei mom anymore, understand? You only have one mother. His son still didn't understand. Why not? I like calling her mom Su. Su Yichen patiently explained. Everyone only has one mother. Just like your dad, he only has one mother, your grandma. So you can't call two people mommy, you have to choose one. To everyone's surprise, the little boy spoke up. Then I want Auntie Su. I don't want mommy. Su Yichen was furious. Do you have any conscience saying that? Your mother carried you for 9 months. Didn't they teach you how hard that is in school? The son was scared into crying, but he explained why. Auntie Su wouldn't make me take medicine every day, she wouldn't nag me, she'd let me play and sleep properly. I hate mom. Auntie Su says if you really love a child, you won't make them unhappy. Making me happy is what love is. Su Yichen clenched his fists. Sun Yanwei had long since led his son astray. What kind of nonsense is this? When your mom tells you to take your medicine, she means vitamins. That's not real medicine. She nags you because she's afraid something will happen to you. What kid doesn't get nagged by their parents? If they didn't nag you, that wouldn't be love. Su Yichen felt his head was about to explode. He had never paid attention to these details before. Chapter 6, the son nodded, only half understanding. Those 3 months each year were the easiest for him. He had nothing to do, and in his most extreme thoughts, he even felt things would be better, that life for the 3 of them would be just fine, if his mother weren't around. The irony was almost too much to bear. Su Yichen smoked several cigarettes in one night, and couldn't help but feel that the past few years had been somewhat absurd. He had actually agreed to Sun Yanwei's proposal. Every year, he would eat the mango he was allergic to, risking his life to run away and live with Sun Yanwei for 3 months. What on earth was the point of it all? It all came down to Sun Yanwei's fear of the cold and loneliness in winter. But he had forgotten that his wife suffered from depression, which worsened in the winter. Su Yichen made up his mind, he was going to set things right. He stayed up all night searching for Lin Shiran, wondering where she could have gone, especially with an injury on her hand, but he searched everywhere, and there was no trace to be found. His son finally felt a twinge of regret. After months of playing, he started learning his beloved game of Go again from scratch. Yet he discovered that without his mother's guidance, the lost ground could never be made up. In the past, his mother would resume nurturing him the moment he returned. This is how he earned the title of Go Prodigy. For the first time, he felt fear. His skills seemed to desert him completely. Regret also set in. He wondered if things would have been different had he not sought out Aunt Su during those 3 months. Soon, the time for the major Go tournament arrived. The son looked out to the sidelines. Only his father was there now. The encouraging figure was gone. He would tell him, "It's okay, losing is just part of the journey. I will always be proud of you." Anxious, the son stepped onto the stage. The knowledge he once had escaped him. He stood frozen for a long moment, only moving his piece haphazardly after being urged several times. As expected, he lost. The former champion now struggles to even make the top 10. His eyes welled up with tears as he kept calling for his mom. "Dad, where's mom? I miss her. I don't want to go to Aunt Sue's anymore. I want to go find mom." Sun Yanwei, who had just arrived, froze in place, her displeasure written all over her face. "Sweetie, did Auntie Sue, did I do something wrong? How about I take you out to play?" The son hid behind Su Yichen. "No, I want my mommy." Su Yichen picked him up and left. "Nianwei, you shouldn't come around for a while. We're waiting for Shiran to come back, and she'd get the wrong idea if she saw you." Sun Yanwei gave a bitter smile but said nothing. Men are all the same. The boy was miserable all day. Life without his mother wasn't as good as he had imagined. He threw all the mango candies into the trash, vowing never to eat them again or to see Aunt Sue anymore. He changed everything from before and actually wrote about Lin Shiran in his essay. "Mom, my mom is simple and nagging. Always telling me what I can and can't eat every day, but I understand now. She did it for my own good." Back then, I even felt a bit embarrassed. None of the other kids' moms asked the teacher like that. I was the only one, treated like a porcelain doll. As he wrote, tears began to fall. He wished he could burn all his old exam papers. That essay he wrote back then actually ended up being selected as a model composition. Su Yi-chen and his son were both completely lost in their memories. Their wonderful 9 months together were overshadowed by a mere 3-month honeymoon phase. No, they were determined to get Lin Shiran back. Chapter 7. Leaving Su Yi-chen and my son behind wasn't as painful as I had imagined. Then again, I've endured the harshest winters alone year after year. What else is there I can't accept? I no longer revolve my life around them, memorizing who can't eat what. Every morning, I wake up and make myself a delicious breakfast. I have no allergies. I can eat anything. In just a few short months, I've tried every delicacy I could get my hands on. Life couldn't be better. It's just my mom and me. I spent the whole day talking with mom, and in the end, it was just the two of us left. Just when I thought I had completely severed ties with the past, Su Yi-chen appeared before me. It was no surprise that he found me, so I wasn't surprised either, and we just spoke calmly. Su Yi-chen's eyes reddened. Shiran. I was wrong. I froze. A small ripple of emotion stirring in my heart, but it quickly settled. It has nothing to do with me anymore. Seeing me like this, Su Yi-chen's heart ached even more. He had imagined many scenarios, me questioning him hysterically, me begging him to leave Sun Yanwei, but no, I was just that calm, as if everything had come to a standstill. I don't love you anymore, Su Yi-chen. The days I saw as my salvation were nothing but their calamity. From that moment on, my heart was completely broken. My only salvation can come from myself. Su Yi-chen shook his head desperately. No, it's not like that. I was just helping Sun Yanwei get through this difficult time. I don't want to be with her. I've never cheated. Perhaps he never physically cheated, but he had already been emotionally unfaithful long ago. He doesn't need to deny it. He enjoys the moments spent with Sun Yanwei every winter, just like my son. I look forward to some different, exciting encounters. She might be young and energetic, full of little ideas, I'm not sure, but in any case, it left a profound and indelible mark on their lives. I was probably just part of the scenery. You only realize how important I was after losing me, but I have no desire to go back. Su Yi-chen was on the verge of a breakdown, but he truly didn't know how to defend himself. He knew it all along. What I said was right. It's precisely in events like these every year that he finds his joy and a sense of novelty. There's no difference between him and someone keeping a mistress on the side. They found a perverse thrill in their clandestine affair. He went even further, using his son as a cover, with both of them risking everything to chase that illicit thrill, but he truly came to regret it. Shiran, let's start over. I won't be like that again, okay? He was utterly humbled, with no confidence at all. I shook my head. Many days later, I saw him again. By his side was his son, who looked just as sleep-deprived and poorly nourished. Mom, the tearful pleas of the past echoed in my ears. The memory of him abandoning me for her, for Su Mama, remained vivid. In the past, I truly did love him. He is the child I brought into this world against all odds, and the final gift my mother left me. Yet, he also became the deepest wound I've ever known. The two of them refused to leave and ended up living right next door to me. Every day, they bring me flowers and plants. All this noise and commotion, I couldn't take it anymore, so I asked Su Yi-chen to meet and talk. You need to understand, we're not even legally married, you and I have no ties. Got it? Don't show your face around me anymore. Su Yi-chen refused. I went to annul the marriage. There will be a result soon. Wait for me. Please don't be so cold. Hit me if you want, or hit our son too. It's all my fault for leading him astray. I couldn't be bothered to respond. I never expected our son would use mangoes to beg me to come back. He ate one and choked right in front of me. Chapter 8. I called the police immediately for help. He managed to survive, and then begged me through his tears. Mom, I really know I was wrong. I don't like Auntie Sue, and I promise I won't be lazy anymore. I saved him. I would have saved anyone in that situation. But I really don't want to think about that past life ever again. How can a heart that's already dead ever live again? Su Yi-chen made a promise. I'll do everything I can to make things go back to how they were. They tried every trick in the book to please, but it all rang hollow. Finally, Sun Yanwei couldn't sit still any longer. She stubbornly refused to annul the marriage. Without my consent, you and I are still husband and wife. Haven't you all been getting along just fine with me? I care for you deeply, Yi-chen, you know that. Su Yi-chen took a few steps back from her. Get away from me. Don't you dare show your face around here like this. We're done. I want a divorce. He went to deal with the matter. He had considered every possible legal action. He tried to have the marriage annulled, but found it impossible. He and Sun Yanwei willingly became husband and wife and built a life together after marriage. Even when he shouted in the courtroom, I was only going to be there for 3 months. I was just putting on an act with her. But the judge wouldn't listen. According to Sun Yanwei's account, Since they had consummated their marriage, they were a complete family. Even when Su Yichen had an affair and fathered a child out of wedlock, she generously accepted the child as her own. No matter how the father and son tried to explain, they only earned the audience's contempt. What a scumbag. Resorting to such underhanded tricks just to leave his first wife. Has he no shame? She's already forgiven your affair, and you still want a divorce. Don't be so shameless. Su Yichen was at a loss for words as a handful of paper was thrown in his face. Sun Yanwei had succeeded. Happily, she linked her arm with Su Yichen's. I told you, you're mine for life. Su Yichen recoiled as if shocked. Get out. He could no longer restrain himself, roaring as he seized Sun Yanwei by the throat. You ungrateful bitch, I should have let you die in that hospital. Sun Yanwei burst into loud, mocking laughter. None of you can leave me, Yichen, you're all I have left. My family is gone. You promised I would always be your family. Why do you always break your promises? Su Yichen's eyes widened in shock, almost bulging from their sockets. You're a worthless piece of trash. No wonder you're all alone. Nobody wants you. Sun Yanwei refused to let him leave no matter what. Determined to tie their fates together, her once affectionate son went up and bit her. Give me back my mom, you wicked woman, you homewrecker. Yet, Sun Yanwei only laughed with delight. We're on the same family register. You're my son. Don't you dare call me a homewrecker. Father and son were plunged into deep despair. They had dug this hole themselves, and now they had to lie in it. Even so, the two of them, father and son, still showed up right in front of me. I had also found my trump card. I'll go back with you, as long as you can get a divorce. Su Yichen would always lower his head and sigh in despair. I will, I'm trying, but he would often return empty-handed, having to swallow his frustration for days before coming back to try again. He and Sun Yanwei were locked in a vicious cycle of torment. Finally, pushed beyond his limit, he grabbed Sun Yanwei and beat her savagely. Don't push me, I'm telling you. I'd rather we both go down together than this. I want a divorce. But Sun Yanwei had already descended into madness. Even if I die, I'll be with you. I could never let you go. Su Yichen hadn't shown up again for a long time. Chapter 9. Just when I thought he had given up, the news has been released. Su Yichen, unable to restrain himself, ended up killing Sun Yanwei. He collapsed as if a great weight had been lifted. In his final moments, he made sure to transfer his son's household registration, and just like that, he and Sun Yanwei were through. He was done with her, once and for all. Exhausted, he collapsed to the ground, feeling half dead. It was all his fault. He called the police and turned himself in. Sun Yanwei stared at Su Yichen in disbelief with her dying breath. I loved you so much. Why couldn't you be with me? Men are such trash. You enjoyed those 3 months every year, but being with me every day became your prison. Ha, neither Lin Shiran nor I won. We're both fools for ever liking you. You don't deserve it. It was that very sentence that drove Su Yichen to kill. It's all because of you. If you hadn't come into my life. But he knew Sun Yanwei was right. He was just being pathetic. He was sick of his monotonous life, yet he didn't want to disrupt the life he already had. How can a person be so greedy? So he waited quietly for the judgment. Just like that, Su Yichen was sentenced to death. He left all his assets to my son and me. I never wanted to take care of the boy in the first place. But he was still young, and all the evidence pointed to him being my son. I had no choice but to bring him home. He no longer needed me to worry about him. He would highlight his allergy precautions every day and hang the note on his backpack. He is unbelievably mature for his age. Mom, I was wrong. That lingering resentment in my heart remains, but I still raised him with care. I taught him how to think all over again. I taught him right from wrong, what is the right thing to do, and what is not. Many years later, he took over the company and got married. He always remembered my teachings and did not follow in his father's footsteps. My life has been nearly complete. I tried everything I was once afraid to do, and I also did a fair amount of charitable work. My life has been full and vibrant. I can finally say it. I am content with the life I've lived. It is enough that I am alive. The end. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.